Hello, viewers. Welcome back to the part 5 of the lecture series on weldability of nickel based alloy. Well, during our last part number 4 lecture, we have discussed about two strategies to minimize, rather to avoid weld certification cracking, and we have partially discussed about the liquefaction cracking phenomena. That's because of the constitution liquefaction due to niobium carbide formation. The liquid penetrates through the grain boundary, and under the restraint condition, the grain separates out. Most of that found in alloy 718. This is another example of liquefaction cracking, most of the time found in precipitation strengthened alloy, VASP alloy, and 710 alloys, and solution strengthened alloys like alloy 625. And liquefaction cracking, this is the constitution liquid making phenomena. You would see a crack in the heat affected zone side. Now this is an capture from the uh, one research article I have cited in the reference. It is showing the uh, effect of welding process and design variables, the effect of towel speed on weld pull shape, and the heat input and bead shape on the solidification cracking. Just look at this microscopic growth rate in centimeter per minute versus the welding speed in centimeter per minute. You would see that increasing the speed from 2.5 to 5 to up to 80 centimeter per minute, increasing the welding speed will decreasing the heat input, right? So you have to optimize your welding speed the way that your weld pull does not become weld pull become more of the time elliptical shape as not the tear drop shape. Had it become tear drop shape, then most of the time the segregation of the alloy element will be along the weld center line. In the second figure, you will see a heat input and the effect of bead shape. In this B schematic, you see because of this larger bead shape, the due to the thermal contraction during the solidification process, the solidification induce weld center cracking, and in the lower figure you will see a lower heat input with convex beads. You will see there are number of beads are there. So with the number of beads and with a lower heat input, you will see almost the heat will be distributed very finely, and you will not have a problem of solidification induced cracking, because through increasing the number of beads, the heat will be properly distributed from the arc. And the third schematic C is about depth to weight ratio, effect of depth to weight ratio. You will see this higher depth to width ratio will face a problem of center line cracking due to high transverse stress. And if you the depth to width ratio is less, then there will be the uh, stresses, shrinkage stresses will be accommodated or will be taken up by the deposited weld metal. So you have to design your weld joint the way that you don't have a higher depth to width ratio. So a couple of restraints are necessary to induce the crack. This is the uh, this is in nutshell. So there are two major mechanisms responsible for the HSL liquefaction cracking in nickel based alloy. One is the segregation and penetration mechanism. So in this, due to the segregation of the impurity elements at the HSL grain boundary through diffusion, this localized melting will occur, and microstructure is intersected by mobile grain boundary. This lead to liquid penetration. So your liquid will fill the cracks, and you have a low strength at the crack region, and the grains will be stronger than the grain boundaries, and under the contraction stresses there will be separation of the grains to the cracks to the grain boundaries. It is because of the wetting of the grain boundary. And in the penetration mechanism, the nickel based alloy containing some secondary phases like carbides, intermetallics, and other solid rich precipitates, there will be a constitutional liquefaction and eutectic melting will take place. So in the case just we discussed about the NBC, niobium carbides, right? It's kind of constitutional liquefaction, and because of the low melting point element like sulfur, phosphorus, there will be eutectic melting will take place. So here is the example of a ductility deep cracking occurs in a thick section multipass weldment. You would see a thick section which is welded, and you will literally see a crack. And here is above is the optical microscopy image of the weld deposits, and lower is the image is more, and you would see it is welded with filler 52, and you will literally see a crack and also a presence of some intermetallics either side of the grain boundary, right? So this happens most of the time in thick section multipass welding, ductility deep cracking. This is again a capture from the Jesse Lippard, a popular book on weldability of nickel based alloy. I recommend the viewer to read the book in the detail for understanding the mechanism. Next is strain edge cracking. The strain edge cracking phenomena due to intermetallic phases of Ni3TiAl. With this mechanism, this form of cracking has been known more than generally as PWHT cracking also. It is also known as PWHT cracking. So you would see a temperature versus aging time in a minute. So this is a cooling curve, right? And when you bypass this curve, if you fall inside this curve, there is every possibility that you end up with cracking. But if you can bypass this curve, this cooling curve, you are perhaps saved from cracking issue, not strain edge cracking issue. So you have to manage your edging time in minute the way that you would avoid, more or less you avoid this cracking. So this is again a capture from this famous article, strain edge cracking susceptibility curve, also of aluminum and titanium in a weight percentage, and there is a boundary. Beyond this boundary, the alloys are susceptible, and under this boundary, they are susceptible. So you have to uh, make sure that the titanium and alloy are within, or your composition are within this boundary, so as to become a resistance to a strain edge cracking, like Inconel 718, X750, Vaspalloy. Vaspalloy is again on the borderline, right? But Inconel 718 is resistance to strain edge cracking or PWHT cracking, because the composition is within this. So as much as say 3% aluminum, weight percentage aluminum, and up to a 4.5 weight percentage titanium. But beyond this line, the alloys are there are wrought alloys, and cast alloys are also mentioned most. So they are susceptible to strain edge cracking, like UDMate 700